Yeah, now I can see. Before the session, good afternoon, all participants. Let me introduce our speaker, Dr. Suman Mundkur. She's a research consultant with Academic Research Consultancy Services and a visiting faculty with Department of Fibers and Textile Processing, ICT, Mumbai. She's a mentor with researcher and she's an author of many papers in many well-known journals. She retired as a professor from SNDT University, Mumbai, and right now in her retired life, she is giving guest lectures in educational institutes, corporate sectors, speaker in seminars, resource person in webinars, external jury to NIFT Mumbai. If I read out her CV, 10 to 15 minutes is not enough to cover her CV. So let us listen to her lecture. I'm sure she will enlighten all of us with the 9 hours of sustainability. And welcome, ma'am. Welcome to this program.
Thank you, Dr. Dasgupta. I welcome you all who are present here for this session on 9 hours of sustainability. Let me first thank All India Council of Technical Education, ATAL Academy, for inviting me, and the host, the Indian Institute of Carpet Technology, for having me on board. I welcome all of you. And we're talking of 9 hours of sustainability. Since I have been in SNDT University for 29 years in the Department of Textiles and Apparel Design, my focus today is going to be a little on apparel and on fashion. I'll also be covering the retail industry. And as you all know, I think the definition has been very well covered in the introductory lectures, and you already have this. But why did we talk of sustainability in 1987? Did it take so long? We are not even 100 years since the man-made fibers came into existence, and we started using them and innovating and creating new fibers. Um, Even the synthetic dyes are fairly new. So, why did we talk of sustainability so late? I think we created enough waste and then started thinking of sustainability. So, when this definition was coined, we all know that we had needed to balance social, environmental, and economic priorities. And this balance, how are we going to cover it with apparel and fashion the way we have consumed all these years? Our lifestyle changed. Just think of what we wore during the partition time. I'm sure during the independence, during the Indian independence, what were the type of clothes? I'm sure much has changed ever since. And then the retail boom, the mall culture, we overconsumed and we wanted more and more. We were not satisfied with whatever was there in our wardrobes. And the consumption increased to such a level that we needed to think of how to dispose clothing waste. So it's when we had the negative impact of on the areas of the apparel industry in almost every sector, that's when we said, oh, this is enough, it's enough. And we need to think about uh, something to do about sustainability. So I'm sure you have all known the effects. Um, this is very well known, but it still continues. Even during the pandemic, when the malls were closed, the online shopping has started, and research which is done as recently in the last 1 year since the pandemic started, online sales have increased, obviously, because there was this this was the only option. It's a very well-known fact that the upper garments sold more because everybody was online. It's some studies, recent surveys also say the men shop 37% more than the women online. So it's not that we have really opened up. We may have restricted the consumption, lowered the consumption, but still the problem of fast fashion has still not gone away from our life. It's mass consumption, mass production, and then you have all these sales and different promotional activities which say one-on-one, buy three, get two free, and then we have a pile of things which are lying, and you have already had a session on waste management. But let me focus only on the fashion industry and the retail industry, manufacturing and marketing. So slow fashion, we are now moving on to slow fashion. The awareness has already come. We are now, let's talk more about the slow fashion because that is going to last. We are going to be buying better quality clothes which will last us longer, and therefore it's going to be sustainable. And clothes which have been produced in a very fair manner, taking into consideration the workers, the fair wages, the conditions where they have worked, and so on. There are certain disadvantages, of course, because producing sustainably comes at an expense. You do get basics and classics, but you may not get couture, haute couture. You may not get that, but yes, you do get what you want. And you can also have think of the second hand, and that's the booming market. I'll come to this a little later. But the least, if you see, even a child knows reduce, reuse, recycle, these three terms have been used for so many years now. Recovery came into existence when we filled our landfills were overfull. And this was not at all the least favored option left with us to manage our waste. So the most favored options were to reduce. Now today, and other than these 4 hours, I will be talking about some more 9 hours of sustainability and what will be the future for you and me, and the future for the generation. A little bit about the consumers, a little aspects from the manufacturing side, and a little aspects of the retail. So that's how the flow will be, and I'll come to uh, textile-based recovery models, because recovery is the best way that you can prevent all the waste that is going to the landfill. You might as well uh, recover it. There are two ways that you can recover. The linear model just had, this was the fast fashion when we produced and we consumed and we disposed of. And we did not think about recovering anything. But the recycling model had some kind of recovery and reuse in it. But now we are moving on to a even more sustainable model, which is the circular model, which we are covering today. So the circular economy is a textile-based recovery model. It is also used by the production in the production cycle, but as a user, the user is the one who is going to dispose of. So it is the consumer who is the source of this waste when it is coming from post-consumer waste, which is in large quantities. Less of it as industrial waste or from the production. So circular economy, the intention of the concept is to reuse, recycle the products either as a whole or any components of it, which can be restored, so that it can be restored like materials, raw materials used, the energy used, the labor, and this has a very big business potential. Now, the idea to develop systems and services to repair, refurbish, reuse, recycle goods, this happens only according to the hierarchy of waste. So we need to sort. Otherwise, we cannot prepare a hierarchy. Means sort out the waste into something that is very good and in various categories. I will come to the hierarchy again. And so we will try to as much reach to the best quality so that we can recover it and reuse it and use it for recycling. Of course, recycling should be the next option and reuse should be better. Reuse should be the first option. Now, there are so many, even in the retail, there are circular retail models. And this circular retail models, there are also sharing economy models, sharing of, it's like a library. Don't we go and buy, we rent, we bring or borrow books for some time, for a day, for 2 days from the library. Similarly, models which will rent out clothes. Collaborative consumption, this is another model. So these are different models which are going to support circular economy and with relation to fashion. There are two approaches to circular economy. One is the transitional approach and the second is the circular fashion approach. What is this transitional approach? It is handling whatever we have, the existing textiles, which involves reuse, redesigning methods and services to give the materials a new life. I'll give you an example of how we can remodel our clothes or restyle them in a way that it looks different when we wear the next time. So this is going to have a significant positive effect and it's going to be reducing the effect on the use of virgin material. So this field can provide a lot of business potential just by redesigning. Now we have so many fashion institutes. All the time, students are looking out for new fabrics, new materials to design. So can we think of some redesigning what is already there? So that's the idea. Second-hand clothes and the leasing models, as I mentioned. So these are the transitional approach. So you are not going to be recycling them, but going to be reusing them in the transitional approach. In the circular designing model, the designing of garments for circularity have to be right from the beginning. The designer has to think of what raw materials can be used, what are the dyes, what are the buttons, what are the accessories, what are the trims that are going to be used, in the garment, which will be easy to recycle. So products that can be optimized for reuse, recycling, they have to be incorporated in the design itself. So designers also need to be aware of what they are going to source. So to make sure that the best value of each garment, they'll have to collect, if it is a recycling model, they'll have to collect that raw material after use in case of post-consumer waste and have recovery methods designated, also saved in the ID right from the beginning. Now, this concept is new, traceability, having a barcode where you can trace where was this garment made, where was it dyed, where was it produced, where did the fibers come from. So we have now, we say the designer has the responsibility of designing the garments, but the product responsibility does not lie with the designer. Once the design has been done, the brands have, the manufacturers have sold, the processing houses have done whatever they had to do with the coloration or processing of the fabric. the government managers, all these are equal stakeholders. They are stakeholders, and all of them have a responsibility towards meeting the demands of the circular fashion. So designers first, because they are going to source. Where will they source from? From the companies who are doing the processing of the fabric, and also from the managers, wherever they are, they'll have to source sustainable materials. As consumers, you and I have a responsibility, because every garment after use, what are we going to be? How are we going to dispose this? We are all aware that UN sustainability goals for 2030 and regarding the textile industry, we are looking at goal number 12, where we have to be responsible in our consumption and our production. So the 9 R's come into picture. So the future demands is a transition to circularity. Now we are still in the state of transition. So the world is looking for materials that can be used in all the ways at the highest potential of the 9 R's. And the best potential, whichever is best. So we are going to be doing away with linear, where we could just use and throw. So businesses will be moving forward and putting their best efforts to achieve the maximum of circularity till 2030. That is our goal, and not for us, but the worldwide. So major textile and apparel brands are redefining their business models, and they are transforming the waste, whatever, as industrial waste, pre-consumer, or the post-consumer, into value streams. So what is India doing? You must have heard about 2019 Lakme Fashion Week, when the sustainable resolution was passed, and 16 companies came forward to sign and pledge. And all these 16 were members of the CMAI, Clothing Manufacturers Association of India, and they signed, they pledged to use as much as possible sustainable materials and source them. This included the 16. You on the right hand side, you have a list of all the companies who signed this, and later some more companies joined in. So by 2020 January, the government had already decided, and they conducted training programs for these companies who had signed in, just to orient them on how to go about. So January 2020, there was the first workshop held for all these, about 30 companies right now, and they may have increased, but that's what I'm aware of, who have signed. And now it will pass on. It has to trickle down to the others. Now it has to trickle down to the suppliers of these companies, and so on. So that's how the R's will contribute to various percentages to achieve a 50% of circular evolution. Now, the highest will be refuse. Try to, I believe, I read somewhere that as of now, we have only 9% of the textile industry is in a circular mode. So we have to prevent any waste from going. So we try to refuse 90% is refuse, reduce. So if you take an average, at least the circular evolution will take at least 50%. That is the idea. And let's go to the what are these 9 R's, as you saw in the list just now. The first R is refuse. What do you refuse? Try to refuse from buying anything. Try to refuse to throw away what you have. At least don't throw away. And I think India has a tradition of recycling. In earlier times, there were clothes which were passed on to younger members of the family or to the, we found somebody to use it, and we did not throw away. In my 12 years of research, I have not seen anybody throwing clothes in a garbage. At least I have not seen this, unless it was used as a duster and it had become so bad that it went to the garbage. But nobody has thrown away, and I think this tradition Indians have to be proud of, because wherever I have presented on other platforms, we have been appreciated and said, wow, you Indians are doing a good job. So I think we should remember to keep that up and donate. And when we donate, it has to be in a condition that somebody will like to pick up and wear. So we cannot throw them away like a heap. And it's easy now because there are collections online. You can donate online. Goonj is one of them. There are many NGOs which are collecting, but Goonj, you can just go to the website and check which is the nearest volunteer who is close to you who can do the pickup, or you may have to drop it uh, depending on what suits you best. But Goonj is doing disaster management for since 2000, and they have been quite well established in using and utilizing clothes not only for product development, for sanitary napkins, reaching the rural masses, and so many, but clothes are being used. So what do we do if you refuse to throw away and refuse to buy new? You can gift. If you can donate, you can pass on to domestic helpers. It can be reused. You can think of reusing it in another way, or of course, exchange for a value. Um, there are, this is a unique feature in India where we have people who will collect the clothes um, from in exchange for like a barter system, or sometimes they also pay. And it's not only stainless steel and plastic, but now they have many other options what they will bring to you, and then they repair it, refurnish it, and sell it in the second hand market. Like you can see, even if it is residential apartments, which are towers, they do not allow these people, but they manage to sit at strategic locations where you have, and now they are having a mobile. So if you call them, they will come to the gate and pick up clothes, and uh, it can be sold easily. In second-hand markets, there are plenty. At least in Mumbai, we have at least 4 markets, and almost every place has a second-hand market. So rethink and repair so that you can reuse it. Our wardrobes may be stocked with clothes that uh, sometimes we say we are bored with that and we don't want to wear. But rethink, can you use it in another way? Can you change the style of it? Can you get it repaired for reuse and give it a little additional life? It is refurbished. You can refurbish textiles. It could be home textiles or apparel. And a lot of refurbishing happens in, at least these are images during my research in Chor Bazaar. So there's a lot of demand for the white shirts. These come to the rag routes. They come to Kandla port, whatever is discarded from other countries, they come here and they're supposed to be mutilating the worn clothes. But whatever comes out, it's packed into bales, and from Kandla, it's distributed all over the place. And these bales, whichever come to Bombay, they are Mumbai, it is opened up, washed, cleaned. If it requires, if the cuffs are damaged, they are cut and made, repairing is done. They are re-dyed in case it's required, and washed, bleached. So that's what is done again for the second-hand market. I came across a remanufacture. I have not found designers, fashion designers, except the one on the lower side Evelyn Sharma. She started Seams for Dreams. It was a charity foundation where she collected the clothes and redesigned them. Now, I know of this designer who does it because my students were doing their internship with her. But I came across books, beautiful books, remanufacturing fashion, remake fashion, which has a collection of designers and designer labels who have opened up their own brand, who are into restyling and creating new fashion. So these are just examples, like People Tree is from a sari collection, and then upcycle fabric bags where they're using fabrics from the garments and leather, both artificial leather and pure leather, and mix matching and making a collection of bags. This is from the book Remake It Clothes. This the next repurpose, the next R, very close to the Red Fort in Delhi. There's a famous chalk. There's a market, a huge market, and it used to attract the tourists during when times were good, where they made, from saris, they made those halter gowns, which attracted a lot of visitors who came, backpackers. They did not carry clothes, but they would come here, and such clothes are also worn in Pushkar, because Pushkar, the fair, attracted a lot of tourists, and these places had these clothes where they could repurpose the sari, and since it gives a long length, 5.5 meters, 5 meters, so it's possible to have gowns and skirts and wraparounds and so many other things. At a household level, consumers have also been doing it, and this is as a tradition. They've been making repurposing clothes to make soojni quilts, which are quite popular, to make rugs, braided rugs, or gowns or salwar kameez, which is quite common. And we also have uh, gowns and so many other. Or if a border of a sari or the embroidery of a sari is good, patching it up on another has been recycling is the next star, and collection of waste. This is post-consumer waste. So when it is collected, if it is sorted out very nicely through as according to the colors, then there's no need to re-dye. You can prepare yarns. Now these images that you see is shredded. These clothes are shredded and made into fibrous form. And I do not know whether you will see some example. I do not know this is visible to you. I have a sample where from denim, this waste has been made into non-woven, or alternately, if the fibers are long enough, you can spin it into coarse yarns, which can be used as tufted mats, as you see on the lower side, or bichonas, and so many other things. Even uh, knitwear industries may be using all those colorful t-shirts and made into rugs, floor rugs, and such things. Now, all this is called mechanical recycling, right from this collection, shredding mechanically, spinning it into a yarn, making it into yarns which can be tufted. The tufted yarns can be made, coarse yarns, simple yarns, or even chenille, and then making it into things like this. And another alternative is a well-known, which is from plastic bottles, PET bottles, which are collected and granulized and made into yarns, which is again recycled polyester, which can be as good as virgin polyester. So you have recycling systems also should be developed, just like in the case of apparel, even for technical textiles. And we still do not have such systems in place. So this platform is to at least make us think, be aware, And you as trainers, I'm sure the message will trickle down to your students and colleagues, and that what are we doing with what we have? Let's take a simple example. I'm going off from apparel to technical textiles. A simple bag, rucksack bag, which every student or a lot of even office goers use. Um, it has about 6, 7 materials. How are we going to be recycling that? We are just manufacturing, but we have not thought of how to recycle, how to. So the design has to be in such a way that it can be disposed of easily, or it has to be better still uh, used as a raw material for circular production. A small way, the next R that I'm going to cover is recover. Recover is collection, recover the waste, prevent it from going to landfills, and what have the corporates done about it? There have been certain schemes. Uh, the corporates have been using different platforms. They use their own stores for collection. Where this is an example of pantaloons when they had this collection drive. um, they called it Joy of Exchange, and it was in the month of October that they had every year, and they would collect and they would pass it on to right? Pass it on to Gunj. So Gunj in turn would utilize it for uh, various projects that they have, and there have been schemes from Shoppers Stop. Shoppers Stop also would collect salwar kameez. Sometimes this was an advertisement. It may be older one, but they would collect the clothes and they would give you a coupon in which you could redeem that coupon and exchange and buy something new. Same with the Future Group. Big Bazaar also, you could carry not only clothes but anything, and they would take it by weight. It would be metal, it could be utensils, it could be uh, what did they do with that waste? They would pass it on to somebody who would take it as they had agents who would pick it up and see. We have good recycling systems with glass, metal, paper, but textiles, we are a little slow. We have not yet thought of, we do not have the systems in place as of now. So what has H&M been doing? In 2014, they started collecting from almost all their stores. And in that 1 year, when they started take back clothes, they took 19,000 tons of waste in that 1 year. And similarly, many other will have to do such schemes, take back schemes. Otherwise, how will the post-consumer waste get recovered? Because if you ask the consumers, where do you give? There is no answer. Sometimes they say we donate. Where do you donate? There is no answer. To whoever wants, the answers are vague. There is, it cannot be, you must have a system where you are going to be giving regularly, or somebody who will come and pick it up regularly. Such systems need to be developed. We have so many ethical brands. These are fashion brands which are betting against fast fashion, and they have already started. Most prominent and the first to start was Patagonia in California, and they have a huge collection recycling uh, setup in Reno, which is north of California. But the others have started, and you can see this is from almost every part of the world, that we have brands who have started ethically and sustainable practices. And on each of their website, you will see what they are doing. And this transparency has to be conveyed to the consumer. So only then the consumers also become not only aware, but they also put into practice. And this is also to build an image building. So what are they doing towards sustainability? We have Indian brands, many Indian brands, and I don't have all of them, but I've just picked up as an example a few of them. I'm sure you are aware about Fab India because they have Jodi Life, Khadi Cult, the label Anoki. All these brands have something to offer, something to do with sustainability. Either it is sustainable production like Ethicus, sustainable cotton production, or it is preparing something from whatever's industrial leftover waste. For example, there are brands which are not named here, like there are, Bunko Junko, and so many brands which are utilizing the industrial waste or garment factory waste and utilizing for preparing products which are there displayed on their website. H&M I already talked of about the recovery part, but this is what we are doing with the circular model. So I come back to H&M for the reason that when they started in 2014, the conscious collection they called it, and they also had a premium collection, conscious exclusive, which used organic cotton, hemp, tencel, recycle, which were sustainable fibers. They also, in 2013 to 15, I have mentioned this to you that they collected a lot of clothing, and they also tried to come up with new styles where they introduced 20% recycled cotton for their denim jeans. And it was a big hit because in 2016, the biggest user of recycled polyester was for the conscious collection and organic and recycled. And it used a better cotton, 31% cotton. They could raise that much. So when it was 2016, I'm giving an example of the uniforms collected for the 2016 Olympics. So the Brazil Olympics, I think almost all the teams of from Sweden, right from the opening ceremony, closing ceremony, and all the athletic competitions, they provided the t-shirts for the players, and that's how they had their advertising message. So this was 2016. Now what are we doing after that? So Nike has also started. They started innovation and sustainability and looking at ways to reduce the environmental impact. They were almost the earlier to start. In 1990s, they introduced reuse a shoe program where they would repair and encouraged members to reuse. Old athletic shoes were converted to Nike ground products. And in 2010, they had polyester recycled from PET, which was introduced. And they had collection centers both in Japan and Taiwan and prepared the yarn from PET waste. This is for their jerseys, which are made of 100% recycled polyester. This was for the Brazil. So they had needed high volumes. So then many other countries also contributed. So they had collection centers in so many other countries also. In 2016, they actually advertised and they said we have the closed loop production. And you can say in sportswear, they were quite the leaders. Approximately 71% footwear and apparel products contain recycled content. And post-industrial waste, that is whatever scraps they had from the after preparing the products, they were also used. So the hit products, they had two ranges, the Flyknit shoes and the Nike Ground, which had were the most sustainable innovations from Nike. It's when I'm moving on to apparel from fashion, I'm giving these as examples because they were quite the pioneers in doing it. Also, take an example of Speedo, because those who are into well-known sports, water sports, and swimwear collection. Speedo also in 2015, they started using nylon fabrics, which were 22% chlorine resistant, uh, and for swimwear, obviously. And they used Econile, that is 78% was Econile, and they came out with yarns which were power flex, which were more flexible than the nylon, virgin nylon. And this they came out as a very economical range. And where did they, the Econile was the recycled material. Where did they source this from? They sourced it from Aquafil, Econile regeneration system by Aquafil. And this was a nylon 6 yarn, and it was recovered from used carpet fluff, from fishing net, which were discarded in the ocean. Lots of them, fishing nets, and so much plastic waste goes into the ocean. Unimaginable that so many brands have started using them and sourcing them. So whatever was recovered from this waste was used as post-consumer waste, and they had a very nice collection network, mostly worldwide, but a majority around the Mediterranean. And along with that, they also had pre-consumer waste. So they had polyamide used, and this was supplied to Levi's, Speedo, Milliken, and all these brands. So this networking is what is a model for any business. So they had the collection centers in USA, Egypt, Pakistan, Thailand, Norway, Turkey. So this kind of collaborative networking is the model that can help in circularity. So therefore, I'm giving these examples. Another example is the North Face, a brand which is part of PF Corporation supplier of innovative outdoor gear. Now, in 2011, they started Reprieve water-wise yarn with a color technology. What is this color technology? They used less of reduced water, reduced chemicals, reduced energy. It was kind of waterless dyeing, and they came up with Reprieve recycled yarn, which came from textile take-back yarns, which were processed from leftover fabrics along with plastic bottles. So they came with Denali line of fleece jackets. The colors were limited to black and this whatever the two colors, but these became very, very popular, and that was an example of the complete closed loop system. So in recycling of carpets, we are aware that it can be definitely, even if the face of the carpets have both nylon polyamide 6 and 6,6, you can definitely identify, and it is not difficult to separate these, and it can be easily recovered and reused. So these are examples, and a patent, DuPont has a patent on these systems, such recycling systems. We have what's happening. I give an example from my own research, recycling of garment waste and how it is utilized in home textiles. And you will see such textiles almost every town, every city. These images are taken from Uttar Pradesh, Amroha, and you have a big factory where I had visited, where all the kind of factory waste, tailoring waste, along with, I have even seen the yarn, spinning yarn factory, which had caught fire, and whatever they could recover, they have even utilized that for shredding. And shredding is done in machines like this on a smaller scale, but you have larger machines also. And then, as I had shown you earlier, these fibers, if you are able to spin, if you're able to spin and make it into a yarn, coarse yarns are used for all these products. And if it is not possible to spin the yarn, non-woven. So the images that I showed you, the marketplace is of Panipat, Haryana. And you will see, these are just examples of what is happening. I have also seen in Amroha where from the shirting waste is bleached in chemical, and I've seen them this happening, and even drying of this, just to decolorize. But these are all small scale. It cannot be it may not be sustainable. But this was happening. It has been happening on a smaller scale. It is also in Amroha. Amroha, I'm surprised, is a town. The name came when Aurangzeb gave this, because there were a lot of mango groups, but hardly any mangoes that I saw when I visited, but I saw entire town being employed in recycling. Uh, and these from the garment factories, even the white fabrics were collected, shredded, and I was told this is also going into medical non-wovens, because it is still virgin material. It is not pre-consumer. It's industrial waste and bleached and good quality, and has all the denim waste. This is what I have seen in Vapi, where Supreme Non-Woven, of course, the images are not of Supreme Non-Woven because I did not take the permission to share them. It was only for the research work, but I've put representative samples where denim waste on a large scale is being made into compression molded for automobile headliners, and a lot of parts, even for the carpeting, underlay, and so many other products. So this is comes a lot of waste is being used. And where does its collection? They have a very well knit, the collection happening and the sourcing. So because there's a continuous supply required, if there is a recycling system to be developed, you also need a continuous supply of raw material to be used. Reduce. We come to the next R. Reduce the waste. And this waste minimization at source without impacting the quality of the manufacturing or changing the procedures, because people are careful about moving on. When there's a lot of investment, if they have to be moving to the recycling, changing the machinery and all. Existing machinery, how can they use to optimize and minimize the waste? In fact, the the move is towards a zero waste. So how do they do this? Good housekeeping practices, identification of major sources of pollution. If they know where the waste is coming from, and they can use it and manage it better. Of course, replacing of chemicals with alternative eco-friendly chemicals or less harmful chemicals. Also using which have limited biodegradability, chemicals which are eco-friendly. In garment factories, even the laying of the garments, if you see this this is an image from Lectra, where on computer you can lay the garments before cutting. You can see the three sizes here. It could be the large, the medium, large, XL, or whatever. XL, it may be 5 or 6 different sizes which are cut together, but the laying is done on the computer and completely computerized. You also have 3D systems now in the garments industry, which will not only take accurate measurements of the body measurements of the person, but also estimate how much exactly without wasting any material. So such systems are moving. The garment industry is moving towards zero waste, but it will take time. But where have we reached? What have we done to incline ourselves with the goals to move from the linear to the circular? And we have these traditional waste models, and this image gives you new waste, traditional waste model versus the new waste management paradigm. So we need, when we say zero waste, we want minimum waste going to the landfill. So minimum as less as possible. So what is on top? We have waste prevention. So reduce the waste. That is at the top of the paradigm. So in the product design, we'll have to think of sourcing materials which are recyclable, which can be going back into the production system. At the same time, the producers also take the responsibility of reducing waste and making it zero waste. So what is our responsibility? We reuse whatever we have consumed. Similarly, at the industry level, this is both at every level from the production to the consumption. So this paradigm is applicable in the new waste management paradigm, and the 9 R's fall into these categories. We have expanded the same into 9 R's because there is a very fine little gap between the recycling and the reuse. You can do a lot more to reuse because that is better than the recycling. So in a textile, in the production, we know this structure of a fashion and textile, the value chain, right from the starting of the raw material, from the extraction, fiber production, yarn production, fabric, the wet treatments, the garment making, transporting, retailing, use and laundry, and whatever waste collection, sorting, recycling. This entire value chain of textiles and fashion, be it apparel, be it home textiles, be it even technical textiles, there is a boundary where we can make it circular, starting from the raw material extraction, and we know how much energy and how much input of material and what are the effects that are going to be, how is it going to be impacting the environment. Now there are systems to measure these. So it is not difficult to get into to a circular model. So how do we go? This is the examples of material reuse and recycling in the textile value chain. Now, if you see reuse in this value chain, instead of vertical, the same chain is shown horizontally. When you see, it is basically every waste is from the user. From the user, can we reuse? I'm showing the upper portion in green. Can we reuse by swapping? Swapping is exchange, like a library system where you can borrow, you can exchange. These are systems which are coming, and they are quite popular now in the UK and the European Union. Leasing models, second-hand models, we have a lot, at least in Mumbai, yes, the television industry, the film industry has a lot of these leasing models, the rental models. So this is also helping in a way. From the user, whatever is collected on the lower side, you see fabrics, fibers, whatever from the user, you can also, this should be the last thing that is happening where you are burning unless you cannot do anything with it. even utilizing it as wipes. Then the last option is to use it for heat and as energy. But otherwise, making it into rags, blankets, insulation materials, both thermal insulation, acoustic insulation, and sound, vibration. You need insulation at various places. And also utilizing fabric, taking it back into the garment industry. Now, this kind of recycling, taking it back from the consumer, are these collection models which H&M and doing Birla Cellulose has started last year. They are also using 25% of the material, recycled material. Fiber recycling, which can go, I have shown you where yarns are made, and it could be non-woven or coarse yarns, but it's going into yarn production. Also, chemical recycling, I showed you the bottles which are going. So these are different models. These are just examples that I have already shown. So sustainability in fashion and textiles, the way we will look at it in future for 2025 as the first goal post, and the next goal post is 2030. What is the European Union Circular Economy Package? The base directive will be taking these from 2025. All the members of the state should have a collection system. Now, this is what has been planned for 2025. So they have to have a collection system, sorting system, and a recycling system in place. We have not yet made our plan in India. It is still in the process, but at least the initiation has been taken by the retailers to source the recycled materials or source sustainable materials, minimize the waste, etc., which is a good move. So the future resource demand should be for recyclable and for renewable resources. And in order to reduce the climate impact and social and environmental impacts of the production line, it will have to be transparent and measurable. So that's what is going to be coming in the. So these 9 levels of circularity are going to be not only for consumers, it is for the production. The 9 R's are going to be extended in the waste hierarchy, and they are going to be adopted. So this is how it is going to be used. And I'll talk about how we are going to use these 9 R's to circularity. The 4 key areas that provide the greatest potential to achieve an economically sustainable textile and fashion industry. So I'll take these one at a time. The first one is new business models to prolong the life of the garment. So what are the business models? First, the single most significant action is to enhance the sustainability and take it, we have follow the waste hierarchy. So the first thing would be collection and sorting. That will have to be done. Then there are examples of business models that will prolong the life of the garments. So in order to prolong the life of the garments, so how can the manufacturers make it more durable, more long lasting? How can it improve the wash fastness, the washability, how many washes can it withstand? All these are going to be even more important. The garments are also going to be, the renting and leasing model, sale of second hand, pre-owned items. Nobody thinks so much about pre-owned cars. But when it comes to pre-owned clothing, people have their own mindset, and that mindset needs a change gradually. And repairing and redesign services, we do not have this in place. So at least we have to start talking about it. And you as trainers can pass on this word about what is happening and what are the plans for the future. There is uh, uh, there is an increasing interest in second-hand shopping, especially in the generation age 20 to 30. And this is a private shopping online marketplaces. And I was looking at online app usage, how much you are being used. And I was surprised there are at least in India at least 10 startup companies which are providing this. I've given some examples here like Outloot, P2P marketplace for pre-owned fashion products. And then there is somebody advertising for luxury fashion marketplace. There is somebody advertising for online marketplace and pre-owned luxury, along with not only apparel but accessories as well. So I'm sure there are bags, belts, etc. There are mobile apps which sell, rent, exchange, pre-owned women's ethnic fashion. There are second-hand marketplaces. There are so many sites which are doing it. And all this, some have started very recently. In the last 1 year, I saw 10 startups which have started this, which is a good. And who are their clients? The younger group, which I think is a good change, and you can see the mindset change among the younger generation. New production technology from the production point of view, new production technology where you're using sustainable fibers, eco-friendly fibers into the design. So sustainability being integrated with the design. It's also taking a stepwise approach in improving the production line, production optimizing, which has already started. Also, environmental management systems of what is being emitted at every stage, spinning, weaving, dyeing, even the kind of thing, how is the waste being managed? I think you are having sessions on these, so I will not go into the depth of these. But the fashion industry is concerned and very much aware of these things happening. So the demand for new fibers, the difference in environmental impact, on different fibers that are coming up in the name of innovation. Every innovation need not be sustainable, but new fibers which are sustainable, that those which are more resource efficient will have to be considered. Also, converting the fossil-based market, which is currently 63% of the textile fiber market, to renewable resources and recycled options. This will have to be looked into in the new production technology. This is what is our future. Also, energy use, switching to renewable resources in dyeing, in optimizing technology to reduce the energy, switching over to solar energy, wind power, or water power. Closed industrial systems will be required in order to avoid emissions, so that you don't, it is within the manufacturing facility. Then reduce of water, a lot of energy that is used in the form of steam. How can that be reduced? So there are new ways of dyeing and dope dyeing, spin dye, digital printing has come in, and right first time, so that the right first time is also a way to reduce the rate of reworking on anything that goes wrong. Spray applications and the use of supercritical carbon dioxide as solvent in dyeing. So so you're saving on water and solvent, which can be recovered again and reused. these are some technologies which are being into, which the fashion industry is concerned with. The use of less toxic chemicals, uh, which you have already seen. New materials recycling technology. To achieve a circular economy, the majority of the materials on the market should be either recycled or renewable sources. So sustainability is integrated in the design, in the purchasing phase, in the manufacturing phase, purchasing phase, and every part of the textile and fashion industry. Many important decisions will have to be made in the design of the garment and the selection of material. So whatever new is happening in the textile industry, the garment industry and the fashion producers are interested in knowing what is happening so that they can use these and take sustainable measures. To ease the treatment of textiles at the disposal stage, investors are encouraged to explore the extent to which sustainability is integrated in the design, in the purchasing phases, in both textile and fashion companies. So, why are these investors interested? Yes, because the media, the social media, is also keeping a watch on what the companies are doing. Uh, how do the how are the companies faring? What are the how are they faring in the share market? All these also, as a consumer, you may be looking at these different things, and therefore transparency is going to be there in future. An up-to-date list of recycling options divided by fiber types is provided. I have yet not seen this, but I had just came across this preferred fiber and materials report. So this report I need to get into the, I just came across this. So I thought I will just share with you preferred fiber and materials. Now this is a good information for the fashion producers. So transparency and competence. So transparency and traceability to allow the measurement of the impact that the whatever production throughout the production chain is more pressing an issue than the fiber composition. So there is a need for traceability, the information tags. I'm told the information tags, there are some brands where you can scan through your mobile phone. You can scan the barcode and send it to them, and they will send you the history, what happened, where, how was it manufactured. So when you purchase it, you can just scan and send it to the manufacturer of that brand. Though I have not tried it, and this is going to be the future. We will have to be knowing, even if it is a pre-owned, the history of where that fabric, garment came from. This can be achieved also through certification and standards. And digital information tags connected to the garment, it will be connected to the global information system. Now, if such a tag has to be with your garment, will it withstand uh, the washing? Will the tag remain so many 30 washes, 50 washes, whatever it is? That is still an issue. Also, if you are able to have this information stored and you are going to be using you using the through the life, say you want to use this shirt for 15 years, 10 years, will that information, digital information, remain in the system after 10 years? Because even IT, there's so much technical advancements. These are still concerns of the industry, both about the bar tags and about the digital information tags on the garment. The textile brands require their suppliers to measure and continuously improve on their energy and water consumption, the compliance restriction. I think you have already had a session on this, and yet I will move on. What is innovation? Innovation does not necessarily lead to sustainability from a life cycle perspective. So life cycle analysis is still is still not practiced and not very popular, but it is a necessity that will happen. Life cycle analysis right from the product, right from the starting. It's from the cradle to cradle or cradle to grave. That was the approach. Cradle to cradle system is the circular system. C to C. That's what it is said. So it should not be cradle to grave. This circular system, it can be also an open system where you can give rise to a new product. So it becomes an open, it's not a circular, but it is a open system. So you start, give rise to another product, one product being upcycled to another product or downcycled to another product. This also is a life cycle of any product. Investors should verify the competence of this company, the textile processes and environment. So definitely, since many of the 30 of the Indian companies who have signed this resolution, sustainability resolution, they are definitely going to be sourcing from suppliers who they will ask for this verification. So we have now moved to slow fashion, and slow fashion starting from functionality, we are making now high quality, durable products which will last us longer, which will have a design which will not go out of fashion, so that we can continue keep using it. It will also have versatility, like you call athleisure, where you can use it for athletic purpose plus leisure wear, multifunctional garments. So this is to improve the functionality. It will also give rise to localism, the Atmanirbhar, which talks of local sourcing, local producing, community involvement. This is for the simple reason that we save on the transport cost. And also provide employment to the people in that region. Authenticity is from the craftsmanship. When it is handmade, it is so valuable. And I think India is lucky to, we have such a rich cultural heritage that we have so many ways of painting and arts and tie-dyeing and so many arts which have traditional techniques which have to be revived. Now, a lot of the government during the lockdown period in 2020, you must have heard that on the textile ministry there is the artisans. There is a database of over 4,000 artisans, where along with their Aadhaar cards, and you can connect to these artisans directly instead of through agents. So connect to them and source. So it's a connect between the designers and the artisans. So you're able to procure from them, source from them whatever is required for production. Exclusivity, definitely, because it is small scale, it is not mass produced, it is opposite of fast fashion. So the speed will be lower. It's not manufacturing in too many pieces. Like Zara used to once upon advertise every 15 days they had a new collection. So it just made people say, oh, fashion has changed. So it made them buy more. So this will be individual, it will be customized, co-created. So this is going to be exclusive, something different, something that you will not see on the road. Equity, the employee well-being, the social part of the sustainability, where you have secure, safe working conditions, fair pay, minimum wages paid, even working conditions are also sustainable, and the environment protect the environment. And as we have seen how waste strategies uh, throughout all these in fashion, your 9 Rs are going to be there, applicable, whether it is apparel, whether it is a fashion product, whether it is an accessory, whether it is home textiles, technical textiles. This is going to be playing a major role in all these. And so therefore, I'm summing up to give a little more time for discussion and questions. Today I'm summing up because we started with evolution. I did not talk too much, but I said we are less than 100 years of manufacturing man-made textiles, but look where we are. Now we are already thinking of uh, it's not renewable, it is scarce, and therefore we need to think about circularity and reuse what we have. Fast fashion versus slow fashion. We saw the difference between the two. We have moved to a slow fashion, and we just now discussed again. I I came back to slow fashion once again just to show how the 9 Rs apply each part of it. Then the UN sustainability goals. What were the goals for the whole world, and what has India done to be with these goals, and what have the fashion producers, the companies who signed, pledged initially, the 16 companies who had pledged that they are going to be, they took a pledge of sustainable uh, sourcing. Before 2025, they are going to be completely sustainably sourcing the product. Now there are 30 companies, and there will be many more joining in, because as the demand will increase, this awareness will increase, so the consumers will increase, and it's going to be impacting even the image of the company is going to be at stake. Impact of disposable on the environment. You ask a school child, and they will tell you what the impact has been, because they know much more on what is happening in on the climate change and all that, and we have all experienced. Waste hierarchy, I showed you the traditional method where a lot of it was being discarded, and now we have moved into a zero waste system where we can reduce the wastage and recover as much as possible. So we moved from the linear to circular economy, and towards the circular economy, how the 9 Rs of circularity come into play in the production system, even the retail system, and the structure of the textiles, manufacturing, textiles and fashion value chain, and throughout the value chain, how these 9 Rs play. And we saw the new waste paradigm, how to manage it, new business models, where we talked of 4 different areas majorly. And what are the sustainability goals? What are we looking for in the future? What may change? New production technology that I discussed about transparency, about the tagging, about the barcoding of the information, about the transparency, about how the fashion was manufactured and how did it reach, and if it is going to be resold or rented out or as pre-owned garments, the tag remains, and I should still have that information of where did I get this from. So that kind of transparency, and will that tag last till the life of the garment? That's still to be known. So this was my summary and a conclusion. So I'd like to, till you have time, what to write down your questions, maybe in the chat box, or maybe you uh, will unmute yourself and ask your questions. Maybe I will ask you a little quiz here. I thought I will just, till your questions come, let me play a little quiz. If 9 hours are understood, which of the 9 hours would you categorize this flow covering from? Can you categorize? Would you like to unmute yourself and answer? Because I do not see the chat box. Is there anybody who would like to answer this? You can just take a chance. Okay, let me explain what this is. It's from the knitting companies. You have a lot of knitwear industries in Ludhiana, also in Tirupur. And what happens to the knitwear that is after garmenting, after preparing the t-shirts or sportswear or whatever? What do they do with this? They have these, they use it as the weft insertion, and they use coarse recycled yarns as the warp. And these make colorful flow coverings. So among the 9 arts, where would we put this? Is it, shall I prompt? Can somebody unmute and speak? Am I audible? Okay, somebody has written it's reuse. Okay, reusable. I can see now. I can see the chat box now, but one at a time. You know, as you're typing, I'm seeing, but I'm not seeing the entire. Okay, let me probably come out of the full screen and see the chat box. Not able to see the chat box. Chindi Dari, correct. Correct. Chindi Dari, but I wanted which R does it? Reusable. Redesign. Yes, refurbish. Refurbish. You can put it there. It's all to be, you may call it in general a term. It is recycled to for reuse, but it may have been remodeled, recycled, refurbished, repurposed. Yeah, that's. I'm going to the next quiz. Question. The screen is small now. Which R of sustainability does this correspond to? This is DuPont's patent on how they could separate polyamide 6 and 6A from shredded carpets. Recycle, I saw one answer. Somebody said recovery, yes. Exactly. You're right. Recovery. You are recovering the nylon 6 and 6 from the carpet waste. So recovery. You're right. Okay. The third. Again, quiz. Which waste recovery model is used here? Of course, when I gave you examples, I gave you related to fashion. I said transitional and right, Madan Mohan, right, circular, exactly. So all your closed loop polyamide carpets. If you have only caprolactam, you can use it. You can it's a circular model. So thank you for answering that quiz. And I will show this reference slide, and this presentation is being shared with you so that you can go through this again and relook at your. So I think you can revisit or relook the 10th hour to see the 9 hours. You will use the 10th hour. I will, unless some question regarding the presentation, otherwise I can close the presentation and we have a interaction. Is there any question related to any slide? Then I can go back. I will stop sharing. I've stopped sharing because I want this interaction to be a little. I hope there are questions and I'll be happy to answer. And if there have been any repetitions, I'm sorry for that. Because I try to keep to the apparel industry, the fashion, but touched upon home textiles and technical textiles and accessories and some other. I did not want the compliments. I'm looking at the chat for questions. Yes, now I get the chat box. And I'm looking for questions. I'm glad that you have all tried to answer. Wonderful. So many of you have, I'm seeing it now. I couldn't see it earlier when I was presenting. But how do you think? I would like to ask, if you have not asking, I will like to ask, how do you propose to pass this information to others? How are you going to pass this information to others? You could, any policy has been made for the 9 hours of sustainability in the textile industry in Indian scenario. As of now, it is only those 30 companies who have given assurance to the textile ministry that they will be using and sourcing sustainable materials before till 2025. We have already half of 2021. Now they have the time to change whatever vendors they are interacting with. They will have to get that. If there is a supplier of a fabric or supplier of buttons, they will have to convey to the supplier that I will want only certain, either give me certified products that it is sustainable, or else I stop taking from you. That's how it will trickle down to the suppliers. That entire supply chain has to become sustainable. Therefore, we have this time till 2025. Now, it'll be a chain reaction, but it'll happen. At least we've begun. That's great. And another big thing is we have this, in India, collection will not be a problem. The major for sustainable, for reuse, the collection system is already in place. My research was on this Bartan Wale or Bhandi Wale, who were collecting in Mumbai city. There are at least 3,500 households that I know have who are their livelihood depends on this, only on collection and selling. So we already have an established system. We just need a good organization to take them up, to collectively bring them. Instead of selling, give us. So we will have the supply of clothes, and then we will sort. This is entirely it's labor intensive. The collection, sorting, everything. If we do not have clothes banks like in UK, in the European Union, they have clothes banks where at the parking lot of every mall, they will just take the bag and they will put it in the clothes there. We don't have such a system. And we are lazy to carry it and take it to the mall or wherever they are collecting. That's the mindset. Unless we change, others will not change. So I hope you will make a beginning. I have made a beginning. I hope you will make a beginning to be mindful of, refuse to throw one. And if you have to, be mindful of whom you're giving to. And take that extra step of going and donating or calling up a Gunj representative and asking them to pick up or something like that. I'm still waiting for you to, I would like you a little more. How would you pass on this information to others? Can you type in the chat box? How would you pass on? You don't have to tell them about 9 hours, but I'm sure being mindful is something common that everybody can do.
Madam, if you want to ask any questions from the participants, then I can unmute them all so they
Please.
can.
Yes, I look forward to interaction.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I've unmuted all. The attendees can now unmute themselves now.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
I got another question: to create awareness and implementation of best practices starting from small community. Right. I think when you do it and you tell your sister or your brother, your siblings to do it, it will get passed on to them. I think that's one way of starting. Everything begins at home. We learned this quote from childhood: charity begins at home. So I think it's time to implement and recall all those what we learned and our parents have taught us. We can go for an art webinar in college. Yes, you can cover it very subtly. You cannot tell the students, I'm going to teach you about what to do with your clothes, but I'm sure you can very subtly maybe have collection drives or something when things are normal, of course. Now, you may all be online, but when as trainers, when we get it, somehow we pass it. If we are convinced, somehow it trickles down to our students. And I'm sure each faculty here has this responsibility, because you are now part of this wonderful training session, which nobody has planned. It's a beautiful concept. How can 9Rs help in waste management? Using the recovery model, the recovery collection model, if you remember. Is it implemented anywhere in India? 9R, the waste management, it's happening very subtly, but yes, I did see a lot of recycling happening even in Mumbai and in 5 states where I have researched, in Maharashtra, in Gujarat, Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh. Of course, in Uttar Pradesh, it was only Amroha, which was the major center that I visited. But I've seen across these 5 states a lot of recycling. Can you believe that 3 shiploads? Can you imagine how much is a shipload? 3 shiploads per day comes to Kandla port with used clothes for recycling. From here, it gets recycled. It's coming only for recycling, and the recycled clothes are sent back to some of the countries, including Japan. A lot of it goes to African countries and wherever there is demand. So not only are Indians able to get all these branded clothes, and also plus recycling, especially acrylic. In Panipat, there are more than 300, I'm sure, establishments which are just doing this work of preparing, just shredding it. Amritsar is doing a lot of acrylic and wool. Acrylic is being also, the wool fibers are also being sent to Kashmir, Jammu, where they prepare those namda and gabbas, the patchwork kind of rugs. How it would help in existing solid landfill management. It will reduce a lot of existing solid waste. And a lot of wipes are going to USA. Maximum industrial wipes are exported from India to US because they are just making all those disposable wipes. But reusable wipes, India is providing. Any question? So the idea was to start from the micro level, from me, from you, from us, and to the United Nations has already laid all these guidelines, and we can do some little bit to follow. I'm still
We can
waiting for questions.
unmute everyone if someone wants to ask questions.
Yes, madam, I have unmuted all. They can
Okay.
unmute themselves.
There are 2 ways. When there are no questions, everything is understood. There's nothing to react to, or there's nothing that went in. You know, like as a teacher, I would say, what has
No,
happened?
ma'am, that will not be the case with Dr. Suman's explanation. I can tell you 100% that all the slides were so self-explanatory, the way you made it. It was so self-explanatory, and I think everyone understood the need of reduce, reuse, recycle, and then the R list is going on. So the idea of donating clothes, small town like our place and all, Bhadohi, Mirzapur, even in Varanasi, I haven't seen shoppers stop collecting these old clothes. But then Calcutta and all I have seen, in Bombay, Calcutta, Kerala, I have seen. But then small places, we haven't started that donating system. Even though we feel like doing that, we don't have any opportunity to do so. So maybe the
So
economic.
I think the students have an opportunity to start this as a business model.
Yeah, that's quite a good idea for some entrepreneurship model. They can start it.
We have in Mumbai rentals for even weddings. The entire wedding party can be given clothes. They have so many functions. So who will spend so
Oh.
much on so many clothing? So the
And then how
rental
do they clean it, especially in this pandemic area and all?
dry
How
cleaning.
do
Yes, it's going on. It's still
they,
weddings are taking place. Of course, the number is very limited to 50. 25 boys side, 25 girls side, but still rentals are still available. Online services, they will deliver to you. They will pick it up again. So
Yeah,
even for a wedding, they don't spend so much now.
that's a nice idea actually. So the
Yes.
small town problems,
Yes.
people may not be having money, but then they want to wear their own. So this mindset, all these things need to be changed.
But mindset, I had taken a survey of customers, consumers, if they would like to have pre-owned, pre-loved clothes. That is how we term it, pre-loved. Somebody had loved them. So pre-loved clothes, whether would no, but many people say no, I don't need to. I can afford very well, but
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. That's the reason.
I
Yeah,
can
that's
afford,
what.
so why should I? Yeah, but
Why should I?
they don't think twice when they have to go for a fancy dress competition or they have to attend even corporate parties. There are suits available because every time you can't be seen in the same suit and the same clothes. So you have party clothes available of whatever size
Okay.
that's available.
Anyway, thank you. Thank you, madam, for accepting our invitation and spending your time with us. I think all of us, the faculty over here, the brand ambassadors, we can carry these messages to our students. And once our students hear from us that these things need not be seen in a dirty mindset, then students can also take this value to their society. And we, as faculty, we have a huge role in doing all these percolation of values to the society. That's what I feel. Thank you, madam. Thank you for coming.
I must congratulate you for having this organized such a session. It is complete in its way and very, very useful. And it'll, I'm sure, reach out through all these ambassadors. It's going to be reaching out to many others. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you, ma'am.
Thank you,
Thank
madam.
you.
Thank you.
Ma'am, you can log out. Let me talk to the participants a
Yes.
little bit. Hello, dear participants. Now we are breaking. At 3 o'clock, you have to log in again because we are ending the meeting right now. Yesterday's session report, which is automatically generated from the system, I'm sending it by mail to each and everyone. You can see your attendance and you can understand your performance. 80% attendance is compulsory to get the certificate. And I need to upload it in a everyday basis in the IICT website, but then you will be able to see it only after Saturday. Your attendance you will be see only after Saturday, even though I have to upload it every day. So one day off is not a problem, but 2 day off will be a problem. So please take care. You will be getting that session report in another 6 to 7 minutes because it's quite a big file. So I'm sending it right away. Please go through your performance. Okay. Thank you. We are breaking right now. We will meet at sharp 3, 2:55 onwards. You can log in, and 3 o'clock we will start. Have a good day.